Current benchmarks, I would say first, are not difficult enough in many cases. A lot of leading models have extremely high scores on the most famous benchmarks, because if two models are actually very different in terms of how useful they are in the real world, but have very similar and very high scores, then the benchmark is not very useful. A related problem is realism. At Epoch, we care about the impact of AI models in the real world, and so sometimes benchmarks might be a bit artificial. If the benchmark measures only a very small component, maybe a component that's difficult for humans, but that's only a tiny part of what it means to actually perform the task in an economically useful way, then I would say the benchmark is going to be not realistic or useful enough for our purposes. So one final problem, the issue of contamination. So often the benchmarks are public, and this poses a problem because sometimes models will be either intentionally or not intentionally trained on the answers to these questions. And this means that models will often have very high scores because they've merely memorized these answers. And so this makes it quite misleading sometimes and hard to interpret the results of these evaluations.